It's Freestyle Friday!
Coming in hot with quick shots of inspiration on a variety of topics.
Okay, Sandy and I finished a book recently called Win in the Dark by Joshua Medcalf. Highly recommend listening to it. It's an easy read. It's one of those books where you're just like, you can read a page a minute, which makes you feel like really smart and like a really good reader. But it was so many life lessons all in a story. So it's kind of like stories are always more fun to read, right? And they weave the life lessons into that. And it's the general story is about a highline walker, and his grandfather was a highline walker, and his grandfather is mentoring his, grandson who wants to take after his footsteps and be a highline walker and achieve it at the highest level. And it was just such a good read. We read it pretty quickly because it was that good. So we'll drop that link in the show notes. But there was one quote that made us think like, wow, would love to expand upon that in chapter 33. So Nico, the grandson, is about to do his big Canyon Ridge highline walk that he's been training for, that's been his vision that his grandfather actually couldn't do in his, illustrious highline career. And there's a letter to fear in the book. And it's actually a letter that an author, Elizabeth Gilbert, wrote. But it was so powerful, we wanted to read it and just talk through it. So, dear Fear, Courage and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us because you always do. I realize that you believe you have an important job to do in my life and that you take your job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting. And, may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused on what I can control. And Courage will be doing its job, which is helping me to be brave and act with conviction in spite of you. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home, in the back seat. Because understand this, Courage and I are the only ones who will be making any decisions and driving on this journey. I recognize and respect that you will always be a part of my journeys. You're allowed to have a seat, and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You're not allowed to touch the road maps. You're not allowed to suggest detours. You're not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. You're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my old and familiar foe, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. Whew. A letter to fear. What does that bring up for you?
It's pretty powerful. I think we all deal with fear in different forms. And my coach told me to make friends with fear and that they just reveal to you what really matters. And fear isn't a bad thing. It's impossible to have a life without any fear. We all have fears. So what that brings up for me is like, accept that it's there, but don't let it take over type of thing.
Yeah, me too. It's kind of that embracing fear, becoming friends with fear, acknowledging fear, and saying, okay, on this road trip of life, I see you, fear. I feel your existence. I know you're there. I know you're here to stay. I know you're here for this road trip. So I'm going to acknowledge that, but I want to acknowledge like you're going to be in the backseat. You're not making decisions. You're not driving. You will be a part of this journey, but you are not driving. And that was so powerful because I think there's this concept of being fearless or like, oh my gosh, he or she's not scared of anything. Look at them. And, on social media or different stuff these days, we see these people, we see the highlight reel and be like, gosh, do they have any fear? Yes, everyone does. And what you realize is those successful people we're watching, maybe they just acknowledge fear and they acknowledge and they put fear in the back seat. Maybe they even seek fear, or when they feel fear, they use it as a sign. Like maybe that's something I need to explore. Maybe that's some change or something new or some opportunity for me. And I'm not accustomed to it, or it's not something I'm familiar with. Maybe I need to go explore it. But I think channeling and becoming friends with fear is a huge opportunity for all of us.
Yeah. And fear is something that it's not going to go away, but I think that you can change your relationship with it and it can transform. There's been things that I was extremely fearful of that now are things that are part of my like daily process. I remember when I first started my network marketing business, this is a silly example, but I would look at people that were really successful, and this was through social media, and I'd be like, wow, like their feeds look amazing and they're always going live and they're so creative, and I don't know how to put myself out there like that. Like I don't want to talk into the camera about my health journey or about where I'm at in my business or about my goals. Like that feels super vulnerable, and that feels really, really scary because what if I don't achieve it and then people make fun of me? Or it was this whole like irrational fear of just like wanting to avoid it, to avoid pain. But the truth is like really your breakthrough is on the other side of that. Like it's crazy to think that that was actually a fear of mine, because now I have people all the time tell me that's their fear. And I'm like, oh, we're going to get through this together. I totally know what you feel like. And it's interesting because they say that public speaking is like one of the biggest fears. And I think it can feel like that even on social media. Like if you're going live and seeing like whose names are popping up and watching you, you can immediately be like, oh my God, my old coworker's tuning in. Oh my God, this person's tuning in. And it feels so vulnerable and scary. And really the only way to break through it is to like embrace it and do it messy. And we're huge advocates of doing things messy. Like done is better than perfect with really any example in your life. So make friends with fear, know that it's not going anywhere. But don't let it take over. Like, know, like, hey, I see you. Like, I know you're here, but I'm in charge.
I love that. What do you always say too? Fear stands for some acronym.
There's a few of them. The one I have heard is false evidence appearing real.
That's right.
Or face everything and run. Is that the other one?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
Yeah, fear, false evidence appearing real. I love it. So anyways, I think, moral of the story, embrace fear. Know that fear is going to be pretty much a staple in your life if you're growing. And you know what? If there's a lack or an absence of fear in your life, it might be time to put some fear into your life.
Yeah, that's probably a red flag too.
Yeah, it's a red flag. Might be time to put some, get yourself into some opportunities, some situations where you're like, dang, I'm kind of scared. But you know what, fear? We're on this ride. We're on this ride together. We can be friends. You can't drive. Let's do this. So, getting magnetic. That's a wrap for today. Only those that can see the invisible can do the impossible.
So remember, you are magnetic.